Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm going to give you a chance to come in. Ce soir, ça va être en anglais. Mais demain, je reviens là, sinon toute l'après-midi en français. So anyways, I was just saying that tomorrow I'll be back in French for most of the day. But tonight it's in English because we need to really make sure that everybody across Canada understands what's going on July 30th and why it's so important and why it's a historical moment. So anyways, hopefully people will understand that and we'll be able to get on with it and make miracles happen. So anyways, I'm just going to be looking here. Okay. Find the chat to see who is here. Hello, everyone. I'm going to write down. And welcome. Okay, there we go. It went to both. Oh, you can see my screen moving. So anyways, the reason I'm here tonight is because we've had a really amazing weekend. And then we went to the powwow and met with a lot of really cool dancers and drummers for the powwow. And we were able to talk with quite a few of them. So it was really interesting to see how interested they were about what we were doing. So anyways, we should have a really good time on Saturday. Come rain or sunshine, it doesn't really matter. We've got umbrellas to protect everybody, but if don't rely on that, bring your own umbrellas if you need to, just to make sure, because this is going to be actually a session, a learning session for everybody. This is not a protest. It's not anything. We are marching though on Saturday. We're beginning with a march at the Park of the Provinces and Territories. So we want everybody to bring their provincial flags there because this is what we want to, because this is a formal, okay, initiation of our collective civil and political rights to self-determination, because we have the right to do that as many times as we please, as long as we get together with all Canadians and Indigenous nations enough to be able to make the change. So, but by law, we already have the rights to do that, so we don't need to ask permission. We just need to unite and to actually say we're doing this. Okay, it's all legal. We have those rights at the international level, and it's already embedded in our Constitution. And it was the basis for the United Nations back in 1945 to actually do this for every country to remove themselves from the colonial style governments that we have. So the only thing that's changed over time with us is representative democracy, which again, they in 1982, we only switched from one imperialism to this type of imperialism. So it's still imperialism, but at the hands of the Canadian government. So no matter what they say or do, it's still that, because we did not get our chance to decide back in 1982 or even 1931 what rights we wanted the government to have above the people. So we have to lay that law down. So, but the only way that we can do that is to actually stand up and say, yes, we are taking our rights to, we are activating our rights to self-determination collectively. And, you know, the same as what the Indigenous have on their side in one sense, but they have to come together as well so that we can actually enforce the correctional change that needs to happen, the correction that needs to happen in our Constitution, because Pierre Elliott Trudeau made a huge mistake, because we've had those rights to self-determination since 1960, and then Canada and the US, Canada and the UK signed on to them back in 1976. So the UK technically is responsible for our self-determination and our removal from the colonial system. So, you know, or to do what we wish to do as a collective. because as a collective, we are all equal shareholders, co-owners of Canada with the Indigenous nations as equal partners, because they have lands. And a lot of people are saying, well, how come, they have the same rights as us, like equal partners? Because they have just as much land as we have people, okay? If not more. So, there's a lot of stipulations in there that a lot of people don't know. Things that you need to learn about, like the Two-Row Wampum Treaty, that we're supposed to be respecting each other and go side by side in the river of life. And then the Silver Covenant chain is like the chain, so that one doesn't go ahead of the other, and we're not supposed to interfere with each other's traditions and stuff. So anyways, or lands to begin with. So what was negotiated, if you look at Canada, it's all pieces of puzzles. And that's the best way I could explain it to you. So if you look at that and you look at all of the Indigenous territories across Canada, it's pieces of puzzles here and there. And this is one of the reasons why the nations, in regards to decolonization, they can't, because of countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, they can't do it because there's too much of the newcomers, okay, I'll say newcomers, that came to the land, and the Indigenous nations were actually destroyed by a lot of the history. And if that they hadn't been destroyed, there'd actually be more Native people than there are Canadian and American people here in North America, okay, and Mexico. So they would have way outnumbered us. So by rights, by legal rights, they have rights, and they need to be recognized as equal partners because they have sovereignty to the land. So Canada as a whole is a sovereign country and a state. Okay, this is what they refer to it at the international level. So Canada is sovereign. We're allowed to decide what we want. We are recognized as such, but the only thing missing is the people being in their rightful power, and that's the Indigenous nations and Canadians coming together, united on each side of the Two-Row Wampum Treaty. And they're always asking questions. Well, who's the people? Well, the people are Canadian citizens and Indigenous nations coming together on each side of the Two-Row in our Constitution as equal partners. And then, they have the rights to their lands and we have the rights to ours. And then we come together to establish the government the proper way. So we're not overturning government here. I mean, we can't do that, okay? And neither would we want to, because we can't cause any chaos in the country. And that's important for people to understand, because that in the international level, there's a lot more, a lot of people think that, we could just throw out the government and then implement our own or not even have government. And that's so far-fetched. Okay, that could never happen to begin with. They will not allow you to do that. And, people have rights. And there are circumstances here that, we can't just decide to do what we're going to want without considering everything in there. So the best way to go about this is, we're, like I said, we don't need to overthrow the government. Everybody needs to keep getting their checks and everything else, and everything has to run smoothly. So, but we can remove final decision-making authority, because that belongs to us. Okay, there are some things the government will have to have final decision-making authority on, but when it comes to everything that pertains to us, we are shareholders. So this is why when you're looking at our civil rights, this is what that means. And we have the political power, not the government. We only give the government the political power every 4 years. However, in 1931 and in 1960, then 1980, leading to 1982, we were never given that right. Okay. The government at first had said that we weren't ready. Well, now we are ready. Okay. And it's time that we stand in our rights. So come July 30th, this is what we are initiating legally, by stating a fact and by signing your Citizens Convention of Consent over here that we have on our website. This is the agreement between the Canadian citizens and, to uphold the treaty rights and to collectively come together under our political and civil rights, because the government slightly forgot to add that in our Constitution. But legally, at the international level, it's already embedded in our Constitution since 1976, legally, through our international rights. So our international rights basically supersede our national rights. Okay, our human rights. And this is why a lot of people are afraid of the World Health Organization and public health. Well, public health and the WHO cannot override our human rights. One second, I'm just going to take a drink. And I get these little spurts of dry throat. Excuse me. I had to get that out of there. Oh, jeepers. Here we go. Bad day for allergies for me today. So anyways, I really want to explain that on how things are supposed to develop. Wow. I took my puff a little while ago, but doesn't seem to be helping. But anyways, maybe I should try something else. But to get back to that, there's not an important date more important than July 30th. Because what we've done is there's two ways of getting our freedom. So what does freedom mean to you? This is a question I want to ask you. What price would you put on your freedom? Okay. How far would you go to ensure your freedom and the freedom of your family and your children's future, and to save this country? How far are you willing to go? Because this is where we're at, people. It's no time to slouch. It's no time to say, oh, well, I'll get to that, in September or whatever. No, the moment is now. It's now or never, because we don't know what's going to happen in September. So we're better off to get organized here and all activate our political and civil rights, okay? Because our political and civil rights, that gives us the power to be able to self-determine together legally without the government's interference. And the government's not allowed to interfere. The government is supposed to assist us in our rights to self-determination, okay, and decolonization. So they're going to say, well, Canada was a free country. Why decolonize? Well, the nations have every right to decolonize. However, they can't become a country within a country or different, territories within Canada. So the best and only logical way to do this, so that we can both protect what is ours for now, is, and stop the insanity, is to come together as equal shareholders, co-owners of Canada. And since we, the Canadian citizens, are responsible for our governance and what our government does, this is why the Convention of Consent is so important, because it's up to us, the Canadian people, to fix it, because they won't. Okay, and we've seen that. How long? Since 1982, Canada had 15 years to come to the Canadian people and have a referendum. But really, it's not a referendum. It's what they would have needed was a referendum on accepting the Constitution the way that it is, with the government as the head of state. Really, it's not. They'll say, well, the Queen's the head of state and the Governor General, but that's in name only, okay, in title only, because the Queen is the embodiment, is the Canadian government, the parliamentarians, the Queen's Privy Council, and the Governor General. All of that is the Queen. Well, titles can't own a corporation. You have to have the people, okay? And that's where we fall under common law. But under civil law, okay, so we're covered under common law and civil law. So common law basically is what we do together, and basically what is done traditionally. But since 1960, there was no more such thing as tradition. Okay, so the government can't claim that they're doing things because they've always done it this way. No, this is a coup d'etat. Okay, no excuses here. They knew since 1931, and then when 1960 hit for the decolonization of all colonial peoples, they knew. And this is why Trudeau and Creechy and everybody else freaked out and came up with the white paper. And then the Indigenous nations came out with the red paper. And then nothing really happened, except, all of these arguments back and forth. Well, we can surpass all that now. Okay. Because a lot of things have happened since. There's 80 countries that have decolonized since, and actually 5 on the way to decolonizing from the United States alone. And that would be, Guam is one of them. Puerto Rico, I think, decolonized. So when you're looking at the grand scheme of things, it's not that complicated. All we need to do is stand up and say that, yes, we are ready. Yes, we want to be recognized. We are the shareholders, and we do have final say in everything that happens in this country. Mind you, we don't need to go to that extreme. So, and we don't want to start causing chaos. We need to bring back our economy. So we all need to work together here and with the Indigenous nations to make sure that this happens. So really what we're going to be doing on Parliament Hill on July 30th is bringing everybody together, okay? And it's not a protest because this is about education. It's about learning and honoring the Truro Wampum Treaty and the Silver Covenant Chain, which is the Friendship Treaty, okay? So you're going to be hearing about these things. Because once we get to Parliament on the Saturday, okay, at 11 o'clock, we're going to start this march with all the provinces, people with flags of the provinces. No other flags, okay? No other flags will be accepted in our march, other than the provincial one and the territories and the Indigenous nations flags, okay? Because this is a momentum for our official self-determination decolonization. This is a project for that. It has nothing to do with protesting. It has nothing to do with mandates. It has nothing to do with, the farmers everywhere. It has to do with us taking our political and civil rights, initiating them so that, yes, all of those things we'll need to look at. So we can't put the cart before the horse. Protesting for this, protesting for that, marching for this, marching for that is getting us nowhere. It has never gotten us anywhere. So please, you want real action? Show up to Parliament Hill on July 30th. What we've asked, I've been speaking with some of the security at Parliament and the city of Ottawa, and I'm trying to let them know that, hey, we need to bring Ottawa back to normal. We need to stop this war zone type environment, and the police and the RCMP need to understand the rights of the people. Okay, so I'm going to go back tonight. This is going to be a little long, but please bear with us because we need your help. This isn't going to happen on its own. We need your help to go door to door, if need be, in your communities, to let everybody know in your family to sign their convention of consent. Young adults can sign it from 15 years and up. Okay, they can sign their conventions, their future, and especially if they're working somewhere, they have say, because that's their civil rights. Okay, so we have to take care of our common law rights and our civil rights, and that's what we're going to be implementing. Okay, and the Indigenous nations know that this has to be done as well with them, and that they too need to enforce what we're doing in the UK. So in the UK is one way of getting this done, which is requesting a correct constitutional correction, because our government never did its job within the 15 years that the UK had requested. Our constitution is still sitting in their legislature. Now, as long as the Canada Act 1982 is still sitting in their legislature, even though it's got a new name here, it doesn't mean that this one is legal. Okay, so to give it legal effect, the people have to rise. And for the people to be in power over our government, we have to rise. And we have to say so in every city across Canada. And as well as on Parliament Hill. The world needs to see that, yes, we are doing this. Yes, this is serious. We've warned the UN, we've warned the rapporteurs, you know, this is getting done. And there's nothing illegal about it. It's all legal because we have the political power. The government doesn't have all the power because that power derives from us. And we can decide as many times as we want to self-determine together, but to do it properly and the right way is finally, and to really, if we're serious about reconciliation and bringing the nations to the table, it's as equal partners, because we are equal partners and we should have been equal partners all along. So if some people have problems with that, you need to learn your history. You need to go back to that, and then you need to find out what happened. Not the BS that our government has been feeding everybody, but what really happened behind the scenes. I've had 13 and a half years of research looking into this. And you would not be able to convince me otherwise of anything short of that. So when the international level says, the courts say, well, but who are the people? And how can they do this? Well, excuse me. It's like Catalan, okay, when they want to separate. You can't separate a province. Let's say Canada, Quebec, what happened with Quebec, and then Alberta, also talking about separation. Well, they can't. Why? Because most of those are Indigenous lands still. They can't walk away and then say, oh, well, we're going to bring the nations from Quebec or Alberta with us, and we'll negotiate with them directly. No, because the Indigenous nations of Canada are also the Indigenous nations of Turtle Island, Mexico, USA, and Canada. They are neither, they're Canadians, they're Indigenous nations from Turtle Island. They have many titles here because legally they are still North American Indigenous people from Turtle Island. So they're neither Canadian nor US citizens alone. They have all the other titles as well. So the ones who live here in Canada, yes, we refer to them as Canadian. And yes, they're part of the Canadian governance, but they're also equal partners. And then the nations as well in the States would have a say in what happens here on the Indigenous side and the Canadian side. Because again, it wasn't their fault. Okay, they got split up into 2 countries, or 3 countries, I should say. It was only one. And we split it up, or the Pope did. Funny that Pope's here, right? So the Vatican way back gave the country for conquest under the doctrine of discovery, but that was proven to be false. Now the Indigenous nations, there's no such thing as the doctrine of discovery, or terra nullius, I should say. Okay, a land without peoples. They had peoples, and they got destroyed. So that's why you're saying, a lot of people think, well, there's not that many of them. Yeah, well, what would you do now? Now, pretty much Canadians and American citizens and Mexicans right now, or the people there, are actually now at the mercy, because now what was done to the nations is being done to us. The whole country is going to disappear under a one world government. And they're telling you right now, when they announced that Ottawa and Toronto, okay, Doug Ford announced that, we're going to give the mayors a little bit more power. In 2008, they came out with something called the Global Parliament of Mayors. And what if mayors ruled the world? Very cocky, I can add. And this is where I lost it in 2008. I thought, okay, well, I'll be damned if the mayors are going to rule the world. Okay. There's some good things about everybody doing the same thing, and trying to do the right thing. But when it's a mayor that is not elected by all of Canadians to make decisions, or, in a province, really, we shouldn't even have I mean, the provinces should all have the same laws. The cities should have all the same bylaws and not all different ones, because a Canadian is a Canadian across Canada. We are shareholders of the entire enchilada, the whole country. Okay. There should be different laws for Ontario, Quebec, and all of the other provinces, because then you're infringing on human rights. And the ones that are actually that should be recognized, you know, in a decolonization process, and the only ones that can be recognized in that are Canadian citizens and the Indigenous nations, because even the French were colonizers. Okay, so the English and the French were colonizers, but we were all turned into colonies. And even and I've said this before, Pierre Elliott Trudeau's lawyer back in 1982 said that technically, until the Constitution came home, we were still a colony of the UK, you know, to put in so many words. So technically, we still are. And you know, we're supposed to be under English law, but the Canadian government and the Canadian judges, corrupt ones, I might add, and you know, I have no problem saying that, because anybody that says that international law doesn't come into play in Canada unless Canada makes a law at the national level for it. That's BS, people. Because through international law, what was agreed upon is embedded automatically in our Constitution, whether it's written in there or not. As long as they agreed to them and then they signed on to them, it's a done deal, people. And there's nothing the government can do about it. And it's time that you learned your rights so that your children will know their rights, because that onus is on you, on every single one of us. So you want to end the mandates and this and that, whatever, have the right to go and look at the documents. That is the one thing that I'm for, is making sure that we see every agreement, because it is the people that are responsible for the Canadian debt. It is the people that have to pay for all of these things that the government is doing, all the contracts that they're signing. We're the ones responsible for all the money being given away. This is your money, folks. Your money, all of our money. So, you know, because people don't understand the law, or the cops don't understand the law, and the lawyers don't even understand the international law because they haven't studied it more than just flickering at it. And the judges by law, with what Canada has signed on to, instead of relying on the lies in our Canadian government website, they should, now that they're at the international level, because now all the judges are part of that international level, they should know that those are our rights and they can't derogate from them, even in a pandemic or a war. Your body, your choice. Can't force you. Even the WHO can't force you. So no matter what the WHO comes out with, they can't override our rights, as a, especially as a collective, or even as a single person. So all of this is BS, and they're trying to make you believe that, because some of them think, oh, well, if the government says it, must be true, right? No way, Jose. Okay. So if the Canadian government, even David Lametti, being a law teacher, should be ashamed of himself. David Lametti, you don't deserve a legal license, from what I see. I'm a legal researcher, not a lawyer, but I'm exercising my collective political and civil rights along with everybody else, and my personal political and civil rights. And even you or the government or even the city of Ottawa cannot discriminate and start blocking streets and everywhere else against the people coming to Parliament for education. Excuse me. And that's what we're doing on July 30th, July 31st, and August 1st. We are activating our political and civil rights, honoring the two-row wampum treaty, and coming together with the Indigenous nations as equal partners. And this is what we want to enforce, a correctional change in the UK, because the UK could do it overnight. It's just about pressuring them to make a constitutional change or correction. So by law, we're in our rights to demand it, and they'd have no choice but to appease us or risk a huge lawsuit by the Canadian citizens against the UK. And at the international level, the UK got penalized in 2019 for interfering in the decolonization process of one of the islands, one of the territories. Okay. So that precedent works for our benefit. And and then again in 2019, the UK actually came down on Boris Johnson in regards to wrongful advice given to the Queen to get royal assent. So we could come back on our government and all the ministers who gave advice to the Supreme Court judge who was interim Governor General, and the Governor General advice. Because when you read that, the Governor General really has no power, neither does the Queen. So remove the word advice by ordered to sign, because the Canadian government has executive power and the prerogative of the Queen and the Governor General to make decisions. All they can do is they say, you have to sign here, and there goes royal assent. The ones with the more power are the senators, but the senators are all handpicked by the political parties. Are they working for the people, or are they working for their political parties? Who do they represent? They represent their political parties, not the people. We can change all this. It's magic. All we need is you, me, and everybody, and the stroke of a pen. Okay? It's magic. Yeah. As easy as that. It could take a while, but once we get that done, everything else can start happening. Are you ready? How far are you ready to go to secure your freedom? Or are you going to bow down and, cower in the corner, move away because you're scared? Oh, I can't handle the stress. I find that people back in the 60s and 70s and 80s had more clout, more political savviness. You need to become political because you own a share of Canada, not just the debt. Okay? Although we own the share of the debt, so we need to fix our country where we're not suing our government every time we turn around or somebody's suing them. Because why? Here's an oxymoron, people. When we sue the government, we're suing ourselves. There goes the debt. Funny, huh? Have you stopped and thought about that? When the Canadian government says they're going to give you $500 to go and get injected or whatever for this trial thing, they're giving you your own money. They're not giving you a dime. And then there goes the debt. Yeah, here's a little bonus. Look how nice we are, giving you your own money. If you believe that the government is giving you little bonuses and the government's so nice, they're laughing at you. They're laughing at all of us. So before our country gets sold to the highest bidder for land for debt, to cover the debt, and then, we'll own nothing, but we'll be happy too. You meet us on that hill, you come running. But when you get there, we want everybody to sit down and listen, because people don't listen. I don't know how many times we explain what we're doing to people. It's very simple. And it's like, oh my God, you're doing this Saturday? We've been telling you for years what we want to do. And then now for 2 months, what we're going to be doing. We're honoring Dare to Dream to a better way forward. The better way forward is equal partners in Canada with the Indigenous nations, so that we can properly decolonize this place, finally have a government by the people, for the people, and that our Canadian government will have no choice but to listen to us. Justin Trudeau, and it's the political party that runs the Canadian government, not Justin Trudeau. Okay, they're just the lip service. They're the puppets. And behind that are the corporations and the money that give the people that give them money. That has the biggest, that's called lobbying as well. So come on, people, you can do this. Not that hard. How much do you want to pay for bread across Canada? Let's clean this mess up. You want to have children 5 years old to go and celebrate Canada Day and being scanned like they're terrorists? If you want that, then don't show up. Don't sign your convention of consent. Obviously, your freedom means zero to you. Means nothing. But you want your freedom? You'll do anything for your freedom? It's time to do anything, no matter what it costs. We need to get this done. We need to get lawyers involved. We need for you to start helping us financially to get this done, because we need a shitload, excuse my language, of lawyers to pay and to do things and to keep this up, to make this work, to educate people from province to province and the territories. It's going to be a long haul, but July 30th is the initiation. And once we have that initiation launched, there's nothing the government can do to stop it. The only ones that can get in our way are Canadian citizens who don't want their freedom, who don't want to try to eventually turn taxation into dividends, and to make this country work for everybody, and for everybody to work for this country the right way, so that we can get benefits like that. Doesn't take a genius to figure it out. It just takes time to figure it out. It's common sense. And if you have common sense, you'll follow us there. So here's the common sense approach to what's going to happen in Ottawa. So we need to be vigilant, because again, problems arise. People are protesting the wrong way. Okay, they're organizing and everything, but to try and get the points across. But there's no need for protests when we already have the right to have the control over our governance. It's ours. It's already here. You just need to want it. Why keep begging? Why are you begging? There's no begging here when we have that power. Intelligence, people. Do it the right way. So now, what we've told, what I've been trying to explain to everybody is that when we go to Ottawa, we want to bring Ottawa back to normal, where yes, we can all meet on the hill. We can talk about our political aspirations. There's nothing the government can do about it. They can't stop us from doing that. But we also have to learn to behave, not to go there all, or, oh, love, love, love. But at the same time, you overtake the city. Okay, what the convoy did was fantastic. But, there's other things that could have been done, that should have been done. And, the outcome was a lot of people suffering in the end, because They had hope. And then I call it suffering because then, you think things are going to happen. And then the police pulled what they did. The government pulled what they did. The city of Ottawa pulled what it did. Well, excuse me, Mr. Ottawa Mayor, you need to read the fine print in our rights and the international law. You can't start barricading exits and coming in, because then you are discriminating against the people who have a right to protest. Even if there is a law in Canada about certain things, not all of these rights are, like we say, absolute. But when it's for a specific political protest, yeah, non-derogation rights. If they have to come to Ottawa in whatever, your excuse in court to say, oh, well, there's a law, they're not allowed to drive these trucks here. All the laws that were created to stop the people from protesting or from uniting or from getting together need to be really justified at the international level. So let's get to the document, okay? But one more word is, when you come to Parliament, when we're there, okay, we're responsible. The Canadian People's Union is responsible for what happens on that hill and for the people attending. What we want you to do is to honor the Indigenous nations coming in, to listen to the two-row explanations, to learn about it, to learn about the other, the Silver Covenant chain, to take part in how the message of why the people dance, okay, the Indigenous culture and their dances and why. And we want you to leave there fully knowing a lot more about the Indigenous nations and that two-row, and why it's so important that we honor those two belts, those two treaties. The government said, well, it's not really a treaty. It's an agreement. So call it a treaty, call it what you like. It's still a treaty because the nations recognized it as such. And hey, the courts will say it's according to how the nations, the one who knew less than the government, interpreted it to say. Not the way the government wanted it to, because the government was taking advantage of these people. And the courts recognize that. There's a precedent for that too. Okay? So we're just reminding everybody, but when you come for this event, I've discussed today with one of the security agents about bringing our chairs and bringing chairs and blankets on Parliament Hill, because when I read the rules of Parliament Hill for the light show, they tell people to bring their chairs and their blankets and have a picnic on the hill and then stay for the light show and the games just prior to the light show. So that's an event that, people should share, because not everything from the government is a lie. So there's some historical things that you can listen to and whatever, and talk to other people and enjoy the evening, or go through Ottawa, enjoy the city. You own it. Respect it. And respect the people there as well. But the people there have to understand that we are there fighting, or not, we're not fighting. We're there to learn about our rights, and they need to learn about their rights too, and their rights not to infringe on other people's rights. Okay? So in the end, everybody benefits if we follow the rules. Not strictly just the rules of Parliament, but international law. And Parliament has to follow the rules of international law and our rights of non-derogation. And so does the city, so does the city police, and so does the RCMP. And eventually they're going to get it, because they're the ones who first broke the law. But at the same time, the convoy is a little too long, okay? There's things that were done that normally you wouldn't do, okay? And Hoover's saying, you're welcome. And, we can understand. I mean, if I had to listen to those horns day in and day out, I would have got crazy too. But things could have been done different. These people could have said, hey, get me a hotel room across Ottawa, and I'll let you do what you want. But it's neither here nor there. What could have been done? What should have been done? What happened was a blessing in disguise, because it did wake up people across the country. It did allow us to send our letter to the UK, in a sense, to say, hey, you see how the people are upset in Canada? There you go. And it wasn't just one person. It was a whole slew of Canadians that need to be recognized in this, from coast to coast to coast. Everybody who donated, everybody who participated. I mean, the only danger that was brought to the convoy were the police officers. And to bring horses in crowds like that should be illegal. And maybe it is. So at the international level, it's intimidation. Okay. So anyways, with further ado, let's get to the document, because we want everybody to sit down on blankets, bring your chairs, because we want you to be able to see the stage and to listen to what is being said. If you value your freedom, you're going to sit there and listen. It's not about walking around and, throwing insults or protesting. When you come to Ottawa and you want to come on the hill, we're the only ones on the hill. So nobody else has made any reservations for it. So we're by ourselves on the hill. They're going to be placing our stage in the middle on the cement there. And people should be, as long as everybody's sitting down and listening and taking part in the education. And, when we say, hey, time to stand up, everybody stands to be counted. Because in a sense, not that you're going to be individually counted, but you're counted because of your convention of consent that you signed before getting there online. On the cell phone, it's really hard. So please try to get to somebody's laptop. I'm sure you know someone with a laptop, and you can even go to the library, okay, and use their computers there. Very easy to sign. You can watch a video on our website on how to sign it. It'll take you 9 minutes to watch it, and then 5 to 6 minutes to fill it out. That's it. But you also need to keep doing other stuff. Just signing this convention, say, well, I've been waiting. We had a woman who says, the PowerShift, a never-ending story. Well, excuse me, the never-ending story is Canadian citizens not doing their jobs, because we are all responsible financially, physically, and mentally to get this done the proper way and to get educated intellectually. It's our responsibility. It's our country. You're not just responsible for the debt, okay? You're responsible for everybody's outcome here. Everybody is a concern to everybody. Our well-being, our healthcare, everything, our seniors, this country, the future of our kids. Your job doesn't end by lip service here or there, or a little share here or there. It's forever. You want this country, you want the responsibility, you want to be able to have your say, well, you better start getting to work. Freedom is not free. It comes at a cost, and not just money-wise, okay? You have to teach your kids. You have to be vigilant. You have to make sure that nothing can interfere in destroying our rights again, and teach that to our kids. So now I'm going to do the screen share. I've talked enough, I think. Oh, look at this. I'm seeing myself. Now, where is this thing here? Okay, there we go. Here's the page. So now, I've shown you this before, but I wanted to show it to you again, because this here is in regards to our rights. And I've already done a video on the decolonization process. So if you want to see the decolonization process, like why we're doing this, first of all, I want you to understand your rights, and that the police and our CMP who are watching our videos and trying to see what we're going to be coming up with next, and what we're going to be doing on the hill, and how dangerous we are. We're not dangerous. We're there for peace. and to keep everybody peaceful. And the way to keep everybody peaceful, hey, have a seat, pull up a chair, sit down, relax, and listen and enjoy the show. Okay. It's about celebrating our coming together with the Indigenous nations to activate our political and collective political and civil rights and rights to decolonization and self-determination. So, hey, it's not a protest, it's not a march, it's for that kind of thing. Okay. No protest there on that day. Thank you. So here again, this is we've got this on our website. So this is about what they've come up with, and this has been changed since well, changed in 2020. So a lot of the lawyers or whatnot or everybody else might not know about this document and how they've decided to change things. So I would suggest that you go and read it. It's on the page where when you come in. Well, I should show you right now. Actually, you're going to be able to find that document. I'm going to come here, and this is our website. Okay, so when you come here, okay, beginning of our website. Okay, so it's the Dare to Dream to a Better Way Forward, honoring the two-row wampum and silver covenant chain friendship treaties and all other treaties, marking the formal initiation of our united collective rights to self-determination and decolonization as equal partners, shareholders, and co-owners, and final decision makers for Canada to be corrected and legally recognized in our Constitution. Stand with us, get counted for true positive change on Parliament Hill, Ottawa, July 30th to August 1st, or in your city. Okay, so here it says, please check below the Parliament rules and regulations, City of Ottawa restrictions, and CPU PowerShift collection of non-derogation political and civil rights information. So you go here, get info. Okay, you just click on info, and then you'll come here, PowerShift to freedom rules and of conduct on Parliament Hill. So this is because, again, we don't want people thinking they could come and protest or talk about their own thing or whatever. This is about our political rights. Okay. You want to protest your own thing, you go in your own corner, but with what we're doing, we're going to be able to make sure that the things are kept quiet, and for people and elders to be able to listen, to be able to understand. So coming over there and acting hog wild or whatever, or talking about other things or even the mandates, it's not about that. This is about our freedom, so that we can initiate it and then correct all the things you complain about. Okay, can't put the cart before the horse. So this is knowing our legal, political, and civil rights to peaceful freedom of assembly, protected by international law during pandemics or war, to be upheld by all Canadian levels of governance, federal, provincial, and international policing and security agency. What is international policing? That's the health police, okay, created in 2016 by 67 countries, but Canada is the one that was in the lead, one of the ones in the lead for this, but the United States created it for the pandemic. So again, we go into Pacta Sunt Servanda, which means that all international law that were signed on by Canada are automatically embedded into our domestic laws, and the judges have to take them into consideration. So if you have a judge that is not following this, you get him disbarred. Either do what you want, but at least have him not disbarred, but removed, because they're in conflict of interest. They're not willing to give you your international rights, and they have to. Okay, you make sure your lawyers understand that, because that is your political and civil rights. So we're here to discuss our rights together collectively, and that's what we're doing. So here again, so we keep adding more things here, so it's still kind of under construction a little bit, but you'll have the basic here, Parliament Hill rules, and this is what the government says, but in there's a few things that need to be removed. or debate that could be debated in regards to discrimination. Okay, and they're assuming, they can't assume that all hell is going to break loose and then put up barricades everywhere and get the SWAT team out and then the 5-year-olds being scanned. No, we have rights to be respected, and they have to honor those rights as well. So the people's rights, did you know that any derogation from the UN International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights of our political and civil rights to freedom of assembly, which was signed onto by Canada in 1976, could result in a huge legal liability for the federal, provincial, or municipal governments, the RCMP, the Ottawa City Police, or the International Public Health Police during a pandemic or war. So this is the liability. This is what they are saying that we are liable for. Okay, all visitors to the Hill shall respect the Parliament Hill precinct property and its entirety. Okay, precinct. They turned it. Turned it into a police state on Parliament Hill. Now, those failing to abide by these rules will be asked to leave the premises and may be removed in accordance with the Trespass to Property Act. In the event of damage, the cost of repair, replacement, or cleaning, including excessive garbage, mislaid garbage, anything outside of designated receptacles, and property damage of any sort, shall be the responsibility of the individual or group to whom permission to use the Parliament Hill precinct was granted, or the person who caused the damage. You hear that word, precinct? So the Parliament of Canada and its employees will not be held responsible for any injury, including death or loss or physical damage incurred by the event organizer and participants or other persons by reason of such events. Now, they need to read the document I'll be showing you. Now, the event organizer shall indemnify and save harmless the Parliament of Canada and its employees from any claims, losses, damages, costs, expenses, including reasonable solicitor client fees, administrative fees, and disbursements, and all claims, demands, actions, and other proceedings made, sustained, brought, prosecuted, threatened to be brought or prosecuted in any manner based upon occasioned by or attributable to any injury to or death of a person or environmental effect or damage to or loss of property arising directly or indirectly, and whether by reason of anything done as a result of any willful or negligent act or delay on the part of the event organizer or the event organizer's employees or volunteers in the conduct of the event, except that the Parliament of Canada shall not claim indemnification under this section to the extent that the injury, death, or damage has been caused by its employees. Okay, so this is what, we're walking into here, people. And that's why we're going to be asking you to please respect why we are there. We're not there to protest anything on this planet. We support all of the convoys going on worldwide. We support all that. I have no problem saying that. But on that day, please reserve this and please be respectful of us, the Canadian citizens, and the people at the PowerShift and the Indigenous nations who will be there to try and save this country and your rights, and placing you as shareholders, co-owners of the Crown of Canada, because now you are a true shareholder. And if the government does anything under administrative law, we can go after. They can. We can actually look at going in this under the law of oppression for shareholders, because they placed us as minority shareholders because they took all of the control out of our hands, from our hands, in 1931 and in 1982. So all of these things could be argued in a court of law. So we want to make sure that everybody understands this. So, including the lawyers. Our lawyers are going to have to go through, we're going to have to go through all of these things with a fine-tooth comb to make sure they understand what we understand as legal researchers. And we're not lawyers, but hey, I think many of them here in Canada should not even deserve a license, and including some of the judges that we've seen. So, maybe we're interpreting things wrongly, but under our political and civil rights, as far as I'm concerned, we're allowed to communicate with each other online, offline, and anywhere when it comes to political stuff. Okay. And political means that's the power of the people to govern. That is our right. They can't take that away from us. And they can't start crying because, oh, wait, we do, you can't speak to us rough, because we're going to come after you. Canada has created many, many laws to suppress the people, and we need to change that. Okay. We are oppressed legally, physically, mentally, and spiritually by our Canadian government and police and the RCMP. Why? And by lawyers and by doctors and everything else in Canada, because nobody understands the real law and how we're supposed to respect each other.